Alright, let's talk about some of my reading hangups. You know those little things that you find you have to do or they drive you crazy if you don't do them and you just can't get over it and you wish you could and maybe things would be so much simpler for you? Yeah, I have some problems. That's coming up here on Drew's Book Review. Stay tuned. Alright, let's talk about some of my reading hang-ups. So of course, we all have these little quirks about us that we just gotta do. With anything in our life, these are particularly my bookish hang-ups. Let's talk about that. And of course, don't forget to hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. You know you want to. Anyway, let's talk about that. Let's talk about like, comment, subscribe. Woohoo! And of course, let's talk about my reading hang-ups. Anyway, I'm a little bit buzzed because I've just had a bunch of coffee. Anyway, let's talk about it. And of course, like, comment, subscribe, all that's down below with my hardcover, Bookstagram, Dragon's Den Discord. Let's talk about what some of my reading hang-ups are. So one of the things that I really enjoy doing, and it's kind of become a must-do for me, and if I don't do this, I just don't have as good a day. It kind of irks at me and itches in the back of my head all day if I don't do this, is I have to read before I start work every day. This has just become such a habit, such a part of my daily life that if I don't read before I start work, it throws my whole day off. I don't feel like I have as good a day. And there are days where I haven't been able to, or I couldn't get out of bed. Wanted to sleep in, whatever. It's happened. But when those days have it itching at the back of my head, it's like, all right, how can I make up for this? How can I make sure I still get my reading in the amount of time that I wanted to? And it just drives me up the wall because while I'm certainly blessed to be able to work from home, which is awesome, the thing is, even when I'm scheduled really early, I still have to get up way before the sun. For example, a while back I had a schedule where I'd start at 6 a.m. Which is fine, whatever. I work 6 a.m., work from home, right? But that also meant that I was getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning just to read my books. Because if I didn't start my day with at least an hour of reading time, it would drive me crazy all day. So for that period of time, I was getting up at 4 a.m. to read my books. Which also means I was going to bed a lot earlier in the night, even before my kids do, which is kind of just crazy. I mean, I didn't have to. I could have gotten up at like 5:30, rolled out of bed, grabbed some breakfast, and went to work. Because I have that blessing and benefit, which I'm very grateful for. But if I don't read before work, if I don't get that reading time in, it's going to drive me up the wall my entire day, and it's going to itch at the back of my mind. I'm going to constantly find ways, how do I get this in? How do I get this in? So that's what kind of drives me up the wall. One of the other things that is kind of a reading hang-up for me is the amount of time I read each day. This has become one of those things where also if I don't get this much time reading it, and I actually time it. I'm so crazy that I actually have a little timer going while I'm reading to make sure that I'm getting in the reading time that I want to get in. So my goal and objective is always at a minimum to get an hour and a half of daily reading time in every single day without fail. That's my objective, but it doesn't happen a lot of the time. Well, maybe not a lot, just sometimes. Hour and a half of reading time every day is what I strive for. And when I don't hit that, again, I'm kind of like, maybe I could find a way to make up the time tomorrow so I could get that time in just to make sure I hit my goal time. Which is crazy. I don't know anybody else that does this. Maybe somebody out there in the booktube does this too, where they have to have a certain amount of reading time per day. And I usually divide that between 1 hour in my main book that I'm reading and 30 minutes on Audible with some of my rereads that I'm reading along with Audible. Is usually how I split that. But getting that hour and a half every day is just like, gotta do that. And if it's my day off, like if it's a day that I'm not working, I strive for 2.5 hours, adding an extra hour time in there. And admittedly, I haven't gotten that most of the time, just because now my day off is basically doing this kind of stuff, filming and editing these videos. But that's kind of one of my hang-ups about reading as well, is that I have to get a certain amount of time or I just go crazy and itch, try to figure out how can I make up for this, how can I make up for lost time, as if the amount of time is really that important when it's not. I've always said, when it comes to reading, it's not how much time you read necessarily, it's not what you read, it's that you're reading. That is important. And that is key. But I've gotten in such a habit that it drives me up the wall if I don't get enough time. And anyway, one of my other hang-ups, and this is kind of just the last one I'm just going to quickly talk about as well. One of my other hang-ups is when it comes to DNFing. So many people DNF books on BookTube, and that's awesome. I'm glad that they can do that. I, on the other hand, have a real problem with DNFing. I cannot simply DNF a book. I can't do it. No matter how much I'm hating it, no matter how much I'm not liking it, I have such a hard time putting that book down and moving on because it drives me crazy feeling like I haven't finished what I started out to achieve and finish doing, and this applies to series as well. Now, if I have a series where I only got the first couple of books, and maybe I'm really not liking the series, I'll probably never buy the rest of the books in the series. So I could kind of DNF the series, but if I bought the whole series ahead of time, and I have all the books in that series on my shelf already, and I start reading it and realize I don't like this series, it would drive me up the wall not finishing the series. I'm like, but they're here. They want to be read. They're a book. I've got to read them. I've got to finish this series at least. Which, again, is just crazy. I mean, as a great example of that is I've talked a little bit about Terry Goodkind's Sword of Truth, had a breakup video about Sword of Truth here on the channel. Despite me not enjoying it as much as I used to, I still felt driven to finish the series on my reread because it's a project that I started on and I didn't want to leave it unfinished. I have the physical books, I have the audio books. I had to finish it because I had the whole thing. And that is kind of one of my hang-ups, is not being able to really DNF a book or a series that I have on my shelf. Only if I have not got that complete series on the shelf will I be like, okay, a DNF that I did not finish the series. But I will never DNF a book or a series that I already have, even if I'm not enjoying it. And that's a hang-up, and it's really something I should probably get over at some point, because honestly, reading's supposed to be enjoyable, right? So I don't know what it is with that, but DNFing just drives me at the wall to not finish a book. Anyway, those are some of my bookish hang-ups. I'd love to hear from you. What are some of your bookish hang-ups? What are some things that you find yourself in the habit of doing that if you don't do it, it just kind of drives you up the wall? I'd love to hear from you. Join me down on the Dragon's Den Discord. We'd love to have you over there on the Dragon's Den Discord. You could also join me on Bookstagram, join me on Hardcover. I'd love to see you over there. And as always, comment down below as well. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much for watching. And until next time, keep on reading. Bye!